well done. Acompaña Verpakovsky, centra. And Riga lead.
Welcome to the Latvian Football Podcast. In this episode, we are going to discuss Virsliga rounds 4 and 5 together. Eriks, why are we doing it this way?
Well, because Virsliga is starting to get crazy, or scheduling of Virsliga is starting to get a bit crazy. 2 games a week for most teams, and yeah, it's hard to find the time to. It's sort of like 1 game weekends, and then it's a day or 2, and then the other one starts. Hard to find the time, so it is what it is. But well, more to talk about today.
It's difficult to find the time. We both have full-time jobs. This is a hobby for us. But on top of that, whilst teams do get 3 or 4 days in between their games, for us to watch the entire round, we literally just get a day or 2 max to absorb the games, identify the time, record the episode, edit the episode, release it. So if doing round by round would be extremely challenging on top of everything else. So at least this episode we are going to do this merged rounds 4 and 5. We'll see how it goes from here on out. Generally this schedule will maintain in Virsliga throughout spring. I think only towards June things ease up and we get a game per week again. So we'll see how it goes. It's still a new show. We're still evolving the format, and you're always very welcome to tell us what you think. So we'll do the overview as we always do. This time we will designate a super award for a goal of 2 rounds. So that's going to be an interesting one because suddenly there's a whole bunch of candidates. And then we'll do an overview of round 6. But before we do that, let's have a look at the table. Where are we? 5 games have been played by almost everyone, with the exception of Metta and Liepaja, whose, remember, first game was cancelled due to inconvenient weather. But generally, yeah, we're 5 rounds in. And what do we see?
Well, we see that the first 2 spots are probably most people's prediction of the first 2 spots. It's Riga FC and RFS. Riga FC leading the table with 13 points. Still no losses for them. 4 wins, 1 a draw. And so far so everything's looking so good for them. And RFS, I'm actually quite surprised that RFS is in the second place, because from watching the games and feeling their vibe, let's say, it doesn't really feel that way. But well, there they are. And even more surprisingly, the third place. It's looking at this, it's mind-blowing at the moment. Yeah, it's Metta being third at the moment with a game in hand. Yeah.
You know what I realized the other day about RFS? I was sitting in the stands at the game versus Liepaja, and I realized that RFS plays the same way that Latvia would play the national team if we had, these players as national team players. It's defensively very solid and disciplined. Obviously, 1 goal conceded in these 5 games, and that's from a penalty during the Riga derby 1-1, so no goals conceded from play. A few goals scored, only 5 goals scored, but just playing 4 defenders, 2 defensive midfielders, and then flank play. If you want to see why that's resembling the national team, go back and listen to our episode on the national team break against games against Wales and Ireland. And I just thought that, well, it just really seems that way to me, that Viktoras Moras is playing RFS in this very kind of authentic Latvian football style, very defensive, very kind of flank-oriented.
Yeah, but at the same time, at least they can keep the ball. And they will keep the ball for the most of the games. Latvia rarely does that against the small teams, but I see your point. Formation-wise, also, well, the Ilic is basically like Uldrich is the target man in the attack that you can pass long passes to. And then it's, I guess, mostly Coadio doing the running and hard work as good cause. Because it's I think it's a solid comparison.
Yeah, it was a random revelation, and I don't really know what it gives in terms of insight, but I was pretty happy with myself for seeing this little thread through. I guess it's not particularly exciting with respect to kind of tactical variety and diversity, but you know what they say, defense wins titles, goals win games, and despite scoring only 5 goals, which is very little compared to Riga, who are sitting in first place with 10 goals scored and 2 goals conceded, 8 goal difference, and even Metta, just below with the game to play, who scored 8 goals. Granted, their defense is as leaky as always, 5 goals conceded, but RFS is really, really stingy with their scoring efforts thus far.
Yeah, and also, I don't know, it's still for me seems that something's just not really clicking, although they're playing all right, I guess. I don't know, it's a weird one. It's hard to tell.
It's getting better. So this season I was there at the Riga derby, and I think then at the Liepaja game, which was a few games later, you can see slowly the shift in attitude. They're waking up. They're becoming a bit more energetic. It's a slow one for whatever reason, but I think we'll give it a few more rounds, and maybe they're just too cold. I don't know. Weather is improving. RFS is like a spring flower. It's slowly beginning to bloom, and because they're not conceding any goals, then it's not a situation where they're in a terrible position. Far from it.
Well, also there's probably some minor internal stuff that might be affecting them a little bit, but well, I guess we can touch upon that later.
No, that is a Valmiera excuse.
Well, yeah, but no, for RFS. Well, it's not really an RFS, but well, 2 specific players. Yeah,
I know what you're talking about, but yeah,
I know what you're talking about. Of course.
Yeah. Well, Metta, as you said, is doing outstanding job. 3rd place, best start to Virsliga ever in their history. 3 wins out of 4 games, and 3 consecutive wins, nonetheless, which is really great to see. They're playing wonderful attacking football. It's a bit sloppy, and it's a little bit shaky and a little bit nervous at times, but they are one of the youngest teams in the league, and it's just admirable, the efforts they're putting in. Every round, every game they play, they score these outstanding, magnificent long shots, which are just, what the highlight reels are made out of. It's amazing.
Yeah, definitely surprised me. I think I predicted them last, and really regretting it now. I knew that they had mostly their previous squad and some additions in Fyodorov's, bit of a more of an experienced player, but to look that solid, it's very interesting. Admittedly, all their 3 wins have been against current bottom 3 teams in the table, but at the same time, they are their main competitors. They won against Daugavpils, who they had not beat in like 4 years, which was quite a record in Virsliga. And they're they're also playing good football. Last game against Supernova, just 3-0. Yeah, surprising to see them there with a game in hand, which if they win against Liepaja, which will be a tough job to do, but I don't think it's unrealistic, and they might go into 2nd spot just a point short of Riga, which just sounds mental, but
it's great.
At the same time, they still have all the big teams to play. They lost already, but still, it's a great indication for the start. Can't wait for the game against Jelgava, which at the moment seems like a sort of a top 6, wouldn't fight for the 6th spot in the table, but well, we'll see.
The next 3 teams of those 3 teams, one is where it sort of should be, I suppose. The other 2 are a surprise. 1 negative, 1 positive. So number 4 are the reigning champions Valmiera with 8 points, 2 games won, 2 games drawn. and 1 game lost, 9 goals scored, 5 conceded, followed by Auda in the 5th place, which is where they finished last season as well, with 2 games won, 1 draw and 2 losses, -2 goal difference and 7 points. And then everyone's favorite underdog, FS Jelgava, with 2 wins, 3 losses, 7 goals scored, 8 conceded, and 6 points. And that is very interesting to see them up here. It's great. I love it. I predicted them along with a few other people at the very bottom of the table. Of course, it's just 5 games, but what they're showing on the field is nothing short of magnificent. The guys they're just inspirational to watch.
Yeah, exactly. Valmiera in 4th. For the start of their season, I think it's all right for them for now. They have been starting to look better, and I think they're gonna definitely be in the top 4. I think that's quite obvious. But there's still more to come from them. I'm sure of it, and we'll see it in the coming games, I think. Auda, I guess, where they should be, but at the same time, I think we should expect more from them, because last season it's where they were where they should be, just stand out in the 5th place, clear of the bottom and not near enough to the big 4. And I just think the quality of the players, the coach, the whole team, they could do better, and I guess some people predicted that as well. But yeah, it will be interesting. The top 5 battles will be interesting to see. And as you said, Jelgava, I just love them. I don't know. It's great to see their spirit, as you said. I just want to call it like liquid football. Of course, it's hard for them against the big teams, but whenever they are with the ball, it's never like sloppy, scrappy football. They play with the ball. They do some nice passing, some nice skills, some sort of quick transitions from defense to attack, and it's just there hasn't been a game where it's not been an enjoyable one with the Jelgava playing. So love that for them.
Yeah, they're playing their hearts out. You know the saying that if you don't try, you've already lost? Well, that does not apply to Jelgava in the slightest. Every time they come out, and it's as if they're in a Champions League final. They play until the last moment. And as I'm saying that, I realize that actually the last game maybe wasn't quite that, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, last game against Liepaja, who are currently sitting in the 7th place, which realistically, for a club with such a budget and as big as Liepaja, they just shouldn't be here. They should be way, way higher up. So a lot of people, of course, are disappointed in this team. First games were just awful. They're starting to pick up a bit, although still there's no clear sign of their style of play. There's no just nothing. But it's starting to pick up a bit. They also have the game in hand, which if they win, they join 2nd and 3rd spot, which is again quite all right. So it's just tough to say. For now, it just seems disappointing because they should be doing better, but I have a feeling they're starting to pick up. And then the bottom 3, a bit tough to say, but Daugavpils and 8. I think it's fair for now, but out of the 3 teams, they really do look as the better ones, as at least showing some style of play and some football, attacking and keeping the ball, and some interesting players to watch. While the last 2, Tukums and Supernova, it's just, I don't know. For Tukums, not that bad, I guess. They have on paper a weaker team, but Supernova is just the definition of disappointment.
Well, I mean, it's only disappointing if you expected more out of them, which I know you did, given the players they have this year, but I'm actually excited to discuss them. I have some conspiracy theories, as it were, as to why they're performing this way. With respect to Daugavpils, they are the 4th highest scoring team in Virsliga at this point, though. So they are certainly picking up. Tukums could be doing better, seem to be unable to hold on to results when they do have them. And Supernova is, well, to me it's not disappointing because this is pretty much what I expected of them. The team last season, they tried to go the Jelgava route, which is when they said they're not going to attract any foreign players unless they absolutely have to, and they try to play with their academy and local players to as much as they could. I mean, local is a little bit difficult for a Supernova because they're a nationwide football school, but you get the idea. And that failed miserably. This year they decided that they're just going to grab everyone who is willing to come, in essence, or everyone who's been released as free agents or whatever. And they're still just not really... It's unclear what they're playing for, to be honest. So I'm not disappointed or surprised in the slightest with them being bottom table. In fact, that's... I think I put Jelgava last, but Supernova was probably number 9. Or maybe the other way around, but I don't remember. Essentially, they're kind of where I think they should be, especially given what they're showing on the field. But here we go. So this is the table as of round 5. We'll keep you updated on how things go every few rounds, see what's changing, how the dynamics are, and so on and so forth. Very interestingly, there are only 2 teams who are yet to lose a game, which are Riga FC and RFS. And there are no teams who are yet to win a game. Everyone has won at least one game, so no one's holding fewer than 3 points at this point in time, which does make it for a very exciting and interesting and dynamic start of 2023 season.
Yeah.
And so with table in mind, we are going to, as promised, overview rounds 4 and 5 from the perspective of some teams, right? Because so that we just don't go 10 games in a row, which might be a little bit boring. We're going to look at Riga, RFS, Metta, Valmiera, and Jelgava. So teams 1 through 4 and then 6. We're not looking through Aude because they will have played both of their games with one of the previous 4. So there's no repetition. And we start with Riga FC. Riga played Aude in round 4. And then they played Tukums away in round 5. 4th round game, Riga Aude, 0-0 half-time. Riga ultimately succeed 2-0, not surprising to anyone whatsoever. Aude has yet to score against Riga in their entire history of meetings in the Virsliga, so last season and this season. And interestingly, there's sort of no point to watch the game until you reach 60 minutes because no goals come before that point in time, which is an interesting statistic. All goals in between these 2 teams, so all goals scored by Riga, are scored after 1 hour of play.
Both the games were quite similar for Riga. Both ended 2-0. 2 games which they should have won, and they did, but maybe not in the most convincing style. But it's still a bit similar, I guess. Against Aude, I guess it's predictable that they win against Aude as they usually do. I don't think there's any foul play involved. I just think that Riga is ultimately a better team. Of course, there's a couple of players that can't play against them because they're loaned out to Aude. I
think that's a big deal that we talked about last time, that because there's so many players in Aude squad that are connected with Riga, then them playing together automatically means losing some key players, so there's always that will be a factor.
Exactly. And still they didn't have a relatively good squad, and they did put up a good fight. They did mostly defend, and possession wise Riga was leading with 61% against 39. 20 shots against 3, by the way, so it just shows that Riga was the dominating team, and eventually just got their goals. They did look like the better team, but Aude was quite solid defensively, and just eventually Riga scraped the 2 goals in the 69th and last minute pretty much. And I don't think I can really say much more. It was just a very standard Riga against Aude game. No real highlights, nothing that interesting. Well, ultimately a bit of a boring game, I guess. Riga had some chances, some shots, 11 shots on target as well from the 21, but don't really remember any huge saves or anything. It was just all right. One thing I did like about the game that the player who sort of changed the game up and ultimately got an assist and also a couple of good chances was the young Latvian Edvards Daščević. That's the one positive I can take from this game. But otherwise, yeah, can't really comment anything else. I see that I predicted it correctly, so that's another positive. Yeah.
Yeah, you have. I mean, I agree, or I certainly don't disagree. It was a game where Riga dominated, kicked the ball around for an hour, had lots of, you said, 21 shots. Of those, 11 shots on target. Ondoa in goal looked generally good, I think. Riga dominated possession. They just eventually, squeezed 2 out of Aude. Neither of the goals was particularly spectacular. Both came in after crosses and pretty much scored by someone at the back post kicking the ball into the empty net, which is, a good tactical accomplishment, but nothing to include in a highlight reel as such. And they just got another win. It's getting a little bit too predictable. It's getting a little bit too unexciting when these two meet, because Aude, in our minds, and given that they're the cup holders, they are a team that is a challenger, but yet they can't challenge Riga. How is it that they are yet to score a single goal against, their parent club, as it were, for not being particularly charitable? And that's pretty much what it is with them. It's another game, another Riga win, another dry Riga win, and we move on to Tukums versus Riga, which, as you said, not too dissimilar. Riga, again, dominating, very similar amounts of shots, very similar amount of possession, a bit more, because Aude is stronger than Tukums. Similar lineups. So for Riga, the differences were Karamoko, Nguyen, and Niang are back in place of Musa, Jurkovskis, and Dabro. For Tukums, they just substituted the guy who was disqualified.
As you said about the Riga win against the Aude, dry game, pretty much the same. They controlled the ball, but they were a bit underwhelming. They scored 2 goals from set pieces, and that's pretty much it. Of course, they had their chances. I don't know, maybe they were unlucky at moments. Also, Tukums at least had some chances, but it was hard for Tukums to put up any actual fight, because it just physically they were obviously lacking, and it's just another all right win for Riga. Never easy to play against Tukums, I guess, because they always have the fighting spirit, but they were never gonna win this game, I think. And some players for Riga also having a bit of problems. For example, Ngom, their center back, their main center back, I would say, apparently due to fasting wasn't ready enough or had too much vitamins. I think that was what their coach Stipic said, which was a bit of a shame. And after the substitution and Musa coming on, it was a bit shaky. But I think, they were always going to win. So coach saw that they're not playing how they are supposed to, so subbed off Regja and Niang after the first half, put on Rangel, Ilin, and eventually got the second goal. And they just played an all right game. And it really reminds me of the last time, I think, when Riga were crowned the champions. So it's 3 years ago. It was a very similar sort of style of getting through the games. In that season as well, they were just always getting these wins by like 1 or 2 goals. Never showed like any incredible football, but they were always like just solid defensively. They did what they had to do, got the 1 or 2 goals needed, and just won the games. And that's how they won the tournament. And it seems that it could be a very similar style this season. They're getting the wins. They're not beautiful. They should be playing better against Tukums, considering even the difference in the budgets for the both teams. But they got the win, and you can't really say anything bad because they didn't even concede. And so far, it just seems that it will be this sort of season where they manage to get the wins. Even the one game they haven't won this season yet against their main competitors, RFS, they played pretty much the whole game a man down. And to get a draw in that manner out of that game, I just think it says a lot. Don't want to make any confident conclusions yet, although I did predict them to go first this season, but it's just very similar to me, and I would not be surprised in the slightest if this is what it ends up to be. Just all of these wins, like confident but not really good, but wins, and then the championship title.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they did play some spectacular football against Liepaja, so they do have it in them. I think the most remarkable thing about the game with Tukums was what you alluded to, that Riga as a team is 13 times more valuable than Tukums. And it took them so much effort, and it was such a struggle to get those 2 goals in, that it really shouldn't have been the case. It should have been a confident win. It was confident in the sense that Riga were never going to lose, but it wasn't a confident win in the sense that Riga came out there and laid down the law and showed Tukums the business. No, it was not that at all. It really should have been much smoother, much easier, much more fun. Should have been had by players on the pitch. We should have seen some spectacular goals, but none of that happened. So we'll see if it will be what you say it will be. I hope not. And it's certainly maybe not entirely shaping up in that way with respect to other games. I don't think RFS is a particularly good indicator. RFS always struggled to win against Riga when Riga are 10 men down, and they were pretty much asleep in that game. But Riga are yet to lose, so we'll see. We don't know yet what it takes to beat them, and we'll see who will be the first one to achieve this feat,
if anyone.
They don't seem like the team that is solid enough to go unbeaten the whole season to me.
Well, it is quite unlikely, but so far, a win's a win, and we can move on to their main rivals, RFS, who played their first game against Liepaja, and they won 2-0. Wouldn't want to say a comfortable win, although in the end it seemed like one, but it was a bit of a weird game. You were present there, so why don't you take it off?
Yeah, no, I actually disagree. It never seemed like RFS were in doubt. At least that was the vibe at the stadium, which is actually lovely. They put up new stands. There's this lovely roof now that shelters you. It was a beautiful sunny day. There was lots of noise being made. I really enjoyed the atmosphere. Some Liepaja fans were there and everyone was singing. It was just brilliant, like really, really brilliant. I was actually surprised when I saw the official attendance numbers, and I thought, well, it certainly felt like it was way more people than what the numbers show. It was just amazing, yeah, for sure. But yeah, the game was good. It was kind of frustrating that RFS just wouldn't score, but that's sort of the story with them. They controlled the game. They strangled Liepaja. They were confident. Left flank, where Emerson and Marish reside, they just kept slicing through, creating danger, just unable to put the ball in the back of the net. And I mean, the stats say as much. 70% possession versus 30, 28 shots, of which 10 are on target. Pass accuracy 87%, 610 passes completed. It really paints the picture of a one-sided game where one team dominates and the other pretty much parks the bus and tries not to concede, which is what Liepaja did. They parked the bus. They had one player who was putting in any significant effort, and that's Mankenda. Can only say positive things about him. He spent the entire first half trying to run right in front of us spectators, dribbling like a crazy person. It was just beauty to see. But you can't win a game with one guy against 11. And then Liepaja went one man down when Klushkins made a really bizarre tackle from behind, straight leg, into Markiev's, got a straight red, well, got a yellow, then VAR review, got a red, got sent off, and then RFS started scoring. First Illich in 72nd minute, which is he sort of pretty much pushed the ball into the goal, which is like RFS. They were just strangling, and they're like this python who are just slowly strangling the life out of Liepaja for the entire game, and then eventually they just snuck one in there. And then 4 minutes later, Maras did score what is a lovely, beautiful shot from a fairly sharp angle from the left side. Both goals from the left side, and that was it. Liepaja tried to attack a little bit, created a couple of half chances, but not really. And then that was the final whistle, and I went home. It was great. It was really good.
Yeah, well, the fact that I didn't say it was not a comfortable win because it was a weird game, but only because of Liepaja and their, I wouldn't even say weird style, just there was no style of play for them. They were just sitting back, I think, at least half of the accurate passes for RFS, well, probably in their own half, just because there wasn't really options to attack. They did attack. There were some better chances, which just kept making the highlight reel of Liepaja's goalkeeper, Vladislav Lazarev's, better and better. Had some amazing saves, but other than that, nothing positive to say about Liepaja, except for Mankenda. Of course, as you said, first goal as well, when Illich squeezed it in, it was a very big mistake by, I don't remember, was it Stanic or Kutsia? Or even Mate, maybe?
I think it was Stanic, yeah.
Stanic, who not looking too good at the moment. But yeah, and second goal was nice, a lovely play between Maras and Zjuzins. But again, too easy. Just it was too easy. I think no real defense from Liepaja in that attack when they scored. And yeah, something like, well, not something, everything lacking for Liepaja. At least that was the impression after that game. Just poor from them, and that's, I think, even the main takeaway. Not the takeaway, of course, the fact that RFS played well and won, but just very disappointing from Liepaja, and even the red card, just so unnecessary. It's just a dumb decision from Kalushkins, and RFS won. They dominated. A very logical end to the game.
I think Liepaja is the team with the highest tactical variation thus far this season, which sort of supports what you said about them not really knowing what they're trying to do. And to me, it sort of seems like Pertti is just trying to do this thing where, if you put a bunch of monkeys with typewriters in a room, eventually they're going to write Shakespeare. It kind of seems like that. He's just rotating players every game fairly significantly, trying to see what clicks. Yes, they have some significant injuries in their squad, but they're not the only ones. And it's kind of unclear what they're trying to accomplish with their current, well, I can't really say setup because it's unclear what's the setup, but it is what it is, I suppose. Liepaja a little bit painful to watch, but they are trying, and Mankenda he's just amazing. I don't see him staying in Liepaja if he continues like that. I think he's gonna go to good places to do great things. He's just an amazing dribbler, and really putting his all into every game thus far. It's great.
Yeah, true. But then again, if he has to show so much dribbling, but again, that's bad from the team. He's amazing, no doubt in that. But the fact that he even has to do that, not good from Liepaja.
Oh, that is evident. Yes, that is very manifest for sure. But if that's what we get in return, that's not the worst trade in the world.
I do agree, especially when we'll talk about next Liepaja's game. But moving on to the next game of RFS against Auda, a goalless draw.
Mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing how it's a goalless draw.
I guess. I did go to this game, and I actually enjoyed it despite there being no goals. I thought it was as Auda's coach Valakari pointed out in the press conference, it was just a very high quality of football. Like there was no really like only like booting the ball up the field from Auda whenever they got it. There was some nice passes, some nice football, very physical, and just high quality in terms of the I guess intelligence as well. It was just nice to see like, two really good teams just battling it out. I guess a bit unfortunate, especially for RFS probably, but Auda as well had them a good chance. Yeah, just surprising that it was 0-0. But I don't know what to say about this one. RFS did look good. Did not enjoy Sorokins in the slightest again in the starting lineup. Valukins, I thought, looked better when he came on, but that's a bit irrelevant at the moment. But yeah, the fact that they didn't score, Emerson, some amazing shots, some amazing great saves from Auda's keeper Ondoa. It was just a bit of a back and forth possession-wise as well. 53 for RFS, 47 against Auda. RFS did get more shots, but I can't say that they were like dominating and then Auda was just defending. Both teams were good. Both teams 84 and 86 percent passing accuracy. That just shows the high level of the game, and I think it was a very deserved result in the end.
I think I would agree looking at second half, but first half really should have ended with Audi trailing. I mean, RFS were producing a shot on goal every 2 minutes for most of the first half. Overall, they accomplished 22 shots versus 9 for Auda. Shockingly, only 3 of those are shots on target, which to me pretty much summarizes the issue that RFS are having with respect to scoring goals. But Auda had none. No shots on target the entire game. Yeah, they had that one chance where someone missed from pretty much right in front of the goal. But yeah, Scrabbles, that's right. But I mean, really, he should have scored. And if he hadn't, then it's one of those where, you know, it's easier to score than to not score kind of a situation. But yeah, RFS they seem to really, really struggle getting the ball into the net, even when they're producing shots, like a lot of shots, frequently, from all directions, and they just can't seem to hit the frame. You know, within the frame, yeah, they can't hit the frame. That has happened a few times, including also in Liepaja game, but they can't seem to get the ball on the inside of it, and that is, I mean, that's okay as long as you don't concede goals, but you really need to score to win.
I guess there were a couple of players that stood out to me more than other games, at least, because I'm not mentioning players any game. But yeah, I really liked, again, Isayevs and Bergqvist, the two defenders from Auda, and also Savelyevs. I thought he was just brilliant in the middle, really like running the pace of the game. And for RFS, of course, as always, Emerson, amazing. His pace is just incredible to see. Though towards the end, he made a big mistake when they were like 3 against 2 on attack. I think he had a chance to sort of do a better pass and they could have easily scored. But still, very good throughout the game. And Markievs as well, young but really good player.
He's pretty indestructible as well. He's been kicked around. Well, in the Liepaja game, he suffered that nasty tackle from behind, and he kind of generally is taking quite a bit of abuse in every game, and that doesn't seem to affect him in the least. It's very good. A durable fella.
I think in the first half against in this game, Oguniyi, this player also got some beatings, and I think there should have been a couple of more whistles from the ref. But maybe not. It's hard to tell. There's sort of 50-50 challenges. Deserved 0-0 from both sides. Either one could have gotten 3 points. I think it was an interesting game, and just again showing some lack of end product for RFS, and I just don't know why. I still have the opinion that maybe it is time for a switch up in the coaching staff, because I think they're just getting a bit too predictable. Since their squad is not really changing, that's why they're solid at the back, but getting too predictable in the attacking phase and struggling to score.
I mean, with my spontaneous insight of their playing philosophy, that may be conscious or subconscious that kind of doesn't really paint the most optimistic picture for the future. But I don't disagree with you. I think Stipic in RFS would have been a very interesting choice. But Victor Smoros, he's doing what he's doing, and I mean it's not bad. Just it's not that exciting. Maybe they just need a really good tactical coach to kind of work on these combinations and actually figuring out how to attack in more creative ways. But there we go. Noteworthy things: Nerugals still in goal. We now know a little bit more about possibly why, not to take anything away from him, but there are kind of extracurricular things going on that were revealed yesterday. And on 86th minute, Stuglis came on for Ikonix. Stuglis is generally a central defender with an occasional central forward gig. And Ikonix is still winding up, unfortunately. Well, I think he's getting better. He is nowhere near as good as where he should be.
Have to agree about both things. And, when speaking of Nerugals, then, of course, there's also the surprisingly little playtime for Zjuzins as well.
Yeah, not that surprising given the thing. I mean, maybe we should just talk about it.
Yeah, probably.
It's the second time we're alluding to it, basically, but it's just not pretty. So I'm kind of not particularly keen on spreading the word, but it has happened, and I think we need to be fair. In essence, what has allegedly happened was that after the game with Wales, Zjuzins and Steinbors, who is the starting goalkeeper for national team and previously starting goalkeeper for RFS, got blackout drunk, missed the flight, and here we are. There's certainly some processes ongoing. Knowing and we talked about it again in our national team episode, that the national team coach Danis Kazakevich, he's a real stickler for discipline. So very possible that these two will never be called up to the national team again as long as he's in charge. But it seems that there's some kind of some issues within RFS with respect to that as well. Steinbors has not appeared in goal since then, and Zjuzins just comes out pretty much when RFS has no other choice at this point. He is yet to start a game.
Yeah, it's good that you said in the beginning allegedly, because I'm not sure about the blackout drunk part. I don't know how bad the condition was, but yeah, they got drunk after the game in the hotel, I believe. Yeah, they missed the flight. I like that. Again, I think it was after Liepaja's game when Moros was asked, the RFS coach Moros was asked in the press conference about Zjuzins and Steinbors, especially Steinbors. He replied that just too much energy taken from the national team break, or something along the lines.
He said, I think it doesn't translate into English well.
Yeah.
But in essence, he said something to the effect that they had too heavy of a workload, and that they're lacking freshness.
Yeah, which turned out to be
a bit of a tongue-in-cheek reference. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, a bit of a satire, ironic one, because what he alluded to was the drinking part. And I think it's also 99.9% sure that they're not making an appearance for the national team again. As I've listened to the comments from Edmund Nowitzkis, the journalist who published the article about it in his Patreon page. He said that he from relatively reliable sources has heard that they're not playing for the national team again, which is a shame, especially in Zjuzin's case, in my opinion, because he is an important player. At least he has some creativity in the middle, which is I think what we're lacking the most in the national team. While Steinbors, a good goalkeeper, but I think he is known for a couple of mistakes here and there. He's also quite old now, so I'm more than fine with him not being in the goal again. We have some incredible goalkeepers who deserve their chance between the sticks. But yeah, shame about Zjuzins. I'm not sure why they did that, especially if they know how the national team coach Kazakevich is with his discipline and his, I think especially his sort of attitude towards drinking. I know he's very well known for his absence of drinking. He's a non-drinker, and yeah, not sure why they did that. Obviously, Moros not too happy about it as well. We'll see how it goes. I think Steinbors will be eventually back between the sticks, unless Njergul's really does just show that he's as good as Steinbors. But yeah, an interesting thing. And although you say that it's a bit of a non-pretty thing that you don't really want to talk about, it's still something to do with Latvian football. It shows Latvian football that these things happen even in the national team, and we can't make it out Latvian football to be all beautiful and nice and professional. These things happen. But yeah, it's just not pretty the way that everything sort of came to light. The federation didn't really say anything, the players didn't say anything, the club didn't say anything, and then there was the social pressure on the journalist to either publish it or not because he thinks it's the right thing to do, etc., etc., and it creates this sort of a difficult situation which we're now in. But as it's still their fault, they did that. They broke the internal rules of the national team, so it is what it is.
Yeah. On the one hand, they're grown men. Steinbors is like 37. Zjuzins is like 32?
31, 32, yeah.
Yeah, that's. I'm sort of in between the two of them. How old I am, and I mean, you're an adult. You do what you want to do, but at the same time, there's consequences, and obviously, the message that sends to everyone who is looking up to these two is just not positive, and that's not what we want to do. You need to be aware of your role within the imagination of kids who are watching you, and what message you're sending, both with respect to life choices. That's one thing, but more importantly, discipline and attitude to team, and while on duty representing your country. So it's just not. It's a very unfortunate, very unpleasant situation. But I'm judging by how kind of quiet and subdued it's been around the issue. I feel like they're aware of the ramifications of their actions.
Especially the fact that it was during the national team sort of camp. Yeah, I guess camp is the right word. If it's outside, it's completely fine. They can't do that. Even recently met a Virsliga player in Old Riga. It's fine. They can do that. Absolutely no problem. But yeah, the fact that they're still in the camp even after the game, and all the rules apply, and that's why it's got the repercussions that it has.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we move on to the next game.
Yeah, this is what it is. And next team that we're looking at are Metta, which I think at this point have suddenly become one of the most exciting teams to watch.
Surprisingly so. The first of the two games was against Daugavpils, the big game of the two teams that always battle it out in a very watchable manner. And they came on top 3-2. Very exciting game. Went to this one as well. Very nice football from both teams. Both teams tried to come up with some interesting plays. They try to keep the ball, play actual football, and very nice game. Very nice game to watch. Goals also distributed quite well throughout the game, and it was very exciting and a good win for Metta. 5 different goal scorers as well. Sovs, Kurtsev, Reitis for Metta, Ivanovs, Diamanda for Daugavpils. Some couple of nice goals as well. This game had everything, I'd like to say.
I agree. I enjoyed watching it. It was very open, very dynamic football. Players were enjoying themselves. They were trying tricks. There was dribbling. Of course, it wasn't as high quality, this very precision football like what we saw with Auda and RFS. But it was really exciting to watch. And the drama, the late goal from Reitis, again, I think his 3rd goal in a row. So 3rd goal in 3 games that won the game. The Metta players ran to the fans to celebrate. The stadium doesn't have any fencing between the pitch and where the people are, so they could just go right there, which is what they did. It was amazing, celebrating with all the people who are there to support them. It was good. As you mentioned, this is the first victory for Metta over Daugavpils in 43 months, but it is not an uncommon result, 3-2. Except Metta is usually on the receiving end of the 3-2. In fact, last 3 games between these two teams ended with the same result, except for Daugavpils, and now Metta can keep the tradition, but also turn over a new page. And it was very emotional, very exciting, great to see. I mean, just really, really good. Really good. Daugavpils are really turning their fortunes around, not in terms of points necessarily, but in terms of game quality. And Metta are just riding high at the moment. 3 wins in a row for Metta, as we mentioned in the beginning, is the best ever start to Virsliga, and they still have a game in hand, which is against Liepaja, who are really, really struggling at the moment. So Metta, the world is their oyster at this point, and I'm very excited to see what they make of it.
Yeah, very good start, but I guess it also makes sense because most of these players have been playing together for a long time now, and I guess they've reached the age where they should sort of take it all to fruition and make less mistakes that lead to these minor losses or draws, and that's exactly what they're doing. It's very nice to see. Also, yeah, some experience in there as well in Fyodoros. Now Randy Shiba's back in Metta as well. And just managed to get this win end of the game, and very good. Although I have to say, from this game, watching live, the one standout player for me was Gleb Zhaleko, Daugavpils midfielder. He is, I think, 18 years old only, and he was just running the game for them. Good control of the ball. He very rarely loses the ball, and it's not always in like easy positions when there's no players around. There's always like 2 players on him, and he somehow manages to get out of the situation, do a nice pass, either pick up the pace of the game or slow it down. Really liked him, and considering he's that young, looking forward to seeing more of him. But for Metta, the whole team was just good. Very well earned team win.
With Zhaleko, it's actually very interesting. Well, first of all, he is an Latvian 18-year-old who played half an hour against Fiorentina in the Conference League group stage, which is certainly, not something that many 18-year-olds can say about themselves, because he is a lone player from RFS. But because he's so young, and because he is from Riga, and Daugavpils is not close to Riga at all, he has a very peculiar training arrangement as part of his loan. So he trains with RFS, but then he joins Daugavpils on game day and plays for them. And I guess there's some kind of a stipulation in the loan agreement as well that he kind of has to play a certain amount of games because he is starting regularly. Yes, you said he's good. I agree. Maybe he's a bit too temperamental, but maybe that is just what comes with age, or maybe that's his style. But yeah, that's a very peculiar. I think it's not an uncommon arrangement in futsal, but certainly not something that you see every day in football.
Yeah, well, I'd like to think that he also joins them for, I don't know, like the pre-game trainings, but I'm not sure now it's the case because the Amanda, another player for Daugavpils who's on loan from RFS, also scored a nice individual goal in the game. After the game, I saw him get into a taxi while all the other Daugavpils team just went into the bus. So I guess that sort of indicates that he lives in Riga because he doesn't go, and he's not Latvian. He's not studying as Zhaleko, so wouldn't really make sense for him to train with RFS. But maybe he does. I'm not sure what the arrangements are, but it just shows that maybe it's the case. And you mentioned that maybe there's like a clause that they should play X amount of games, but at the same time, I can't see the Amanda and Zhaleko not being in the starting 11. They are making the team better, and it only makes sense for them to play.
I agree. No, I agree completely. Hey, how many RFS players could you count during this game?
Oh, I'm not sure at this point, but in the top of my head, 3, I guess, right? Are there any in Metta?
4. There's 4.
Bex?
Yeah.
Zhaleko,
Bex,
Amanda.
yeah.
Who else?
And Lizanovs.
All right, Lizanovs, of course, yeah.
Yeah. Where Riga puts all their eggs into the outer basket, RFS seems to be well, there's certainly a dominance of players in Daugavpils, but other places too. But yeah, it was a great game. Very happy with it. It was great to see. Beautiful goal by Kurtsevs for Metta, just an absolute screamer, and but also some good action from Daugavpils. The Diamande going around dribbling with his big, strong, long legs looks a little bit awkward, but hey, it works. So if it works, it works. And just good to see. Metta again, 4-2-3-1. Daugavpils again, 4-4-2. No big surprises there. No big surprises in lineups. But a surprisingly beautiful and exciting game nonetheless.
Yeah, and speaking of beautiful games, Metta against Supernova, their second game, easy 3-0 for them. Just straight up easy win. Nothing really more to say. They looked really good. Of course, there were a couple of chances for Supernova as well, but overall, just all I can think about when thinking of Supernova is just zero, just nothing. Nothing really comes to mind. There's just lack of motivation, of energy, of everything, and that's why I say easy win for Meta. Of course, they played good as well. Only can say like congrats to them. Also, a couple of very nice goals, and yeah, it just seems that they have it together. They know how to play at least against the bottom teams, Meta, and it seems that they will be higher than 8th place at least this season, which is good for them. But I guess we've sort of already talked about how good Meta are from the previous game. It was very similar to this, just playing good football, scoring good goals with Melnis Korea and Vatne scoring a penalty. But I guess we have to talk more about Supernova and their lack of anything. Just very weird. They switched a lot of players. The coach said that, okay, after the previous game, he will switch up players because nothing's working, and they do even worse. And then there's their captain, Lyzans, going off in the first half, very early in the first half as well. They did a goalkeeper swap after the first half as well, which is, well, a rare thing in football, realistically. And it's just, nothing's working. They had some chances. Their most experienced player, Edwards Vishniakovs, that missed an absolute sitter, which he should have scored. And other than that, I just don't know what to say about them. It's just nothing really going for them.
I think their coach said everything there is to say about them, which really was shocking to hear. So not after this game. So this is the game that was in the 5th round. But after, in the press conference after another loss, which was in the 4th round, which we haven't gotten to yet because of the format that we're taking today, but we'll get there in a minute. He said something that I thought was downright shocking, and if that's the pick-me-ups that he gives them in the dressing room, it's really no surprise that they're performing the way they're performing. He basically said something to the effect of that, well, this is a team of players who, well, it's a team of rejects, in essence, he said. It's players who nobody else wanted, and they're all here, and their only job here is to show their previous clubs that they were wrong. And but to his surprise, players are not showing even that, which is already seems like an unnecessarily harsh thing to say publicly about your team. And then in the press conference again after this loss, he further added that there's just no motivation, that people do well in trainings, but none of that comes through on game day. And I promised a conspiracy theory of my authorship with respect to this, and I think the players are trying to push him out, to be honest. Because that's what I see, that they have a team that's strong on paper and experienced, and they did show that they can play previously. But if what we hear is that they train well but play poorly, well, I mean, maybe they just are sick of being spoken to like that. I don't know. Maybe they want the coach out, so they're doing this on purpose. We'll see how it pans out. I'm gonna offer that as an explanation for a sudden and very underwhelming performance Supernova is offering us thus far.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout, to be fair. It could be that way. Although, again, maybe unlikely, but it's not a bad shout, nevertheless.
I mean, they're not playing for anything, right? It's still early in the season, so they're
Yes,
in no
true.
danger of getting relegated. Like, realistically, there's 5 games have been played, right? So they can lose a bunch still.
Yeah, but interesting because they did well with this coach, and then he's still dead throughout the season. I don't know. I just don't think. Maybe it is the case, but then I don't think Supernova have the sort of players that can't just talk to the, I don't know, either the coach himself or like the head of the team, well, the club, and say that we're not happy with this. And then I'm not sure, maybe. But then again, it seems that players like Rakels, who's been up there in his career, like reaching the heights that very rarely Latvians get to, and then I'm of course I don't know how he's in trainings, whether he's supportive of the young players or not, but in the games it just seems like every time someone does not do a pass that he wanted or anything, it just seems like he thinks that, oh, I know better and I don't, like, he still tries, but it just seems like he gives up easily and then probably thinks that he's the best and that the others can't play. But I don't think it's even the case. I think he can do better, and it's just, and maybe it's the coach as well. I just think there's a bit of a mess, and if they're not showing some positive signs in the next game, then it could be the early start to sort of maybe write Supernova off the season because it's not looking good, or maybe at least the coach write the coach off. But we'll see.
I think we'll see what happens after Kolinko gets sacked, because, I mean, if look at it from the perspective of Rakels, if you have such a stellar CV as he does, and then you hear from your coach that you're a team of rejects, what's going to be your reaction? It's going to be, well, screw you. Obviously, it's not applicable to me. It's just not what the facts show about me. So maybe there's friction being created through these defensive mechanisms as well. So, yeah, we'll see. I think coach is probably going to go in a few games. Supernova have sacked coaches last season reluctantly, and they did do well with Kolinko last season. But, I mean, if he's flying off the handle and making statements such as, well, there's no good goalkeepers in Latvia, my team are just, garbage that nobody else wants, and, they're not motivated. Well, I mean, maybe you're the reason why they're not motivated. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But thus far, game against Metta, complete disaster, a very well-deserved loss. Just Metta showing good stuff, Supernova showing, well, bad stuff, I suppose. Not to be particularly original. And that brings us to Valmiera. Valmiera played against Tukums in a very interesting game which ended 4-3 for Valmiera. They were trailing at halftime 2-1. But here's the thing. Tukums got so excited for this game that they scored 5 out of 7 goals scored in this game altogether. So they scored their 3, and then they added 2 in their own goal to help Valmiera out. It was a crazy game. It was a pandemonium, if there ever was one. Just complete anarchy and madness. It was amazing to see. Great goals, just scoreboard going, swinging wild into each direction. It was so fun.
Yeah. Interesting game. Well, realistically, Valmiera struggled more than they should. I think ultimately they did deserve to win the game, though Tukums were very up for it. They battled until the last minute, and in terms of attitude, maybe they didn't deserve to win Valmiera, but in terms of football quality, probably they did, but still a very interesting game. Barely scraping the victory, Valmiera should have been an easier game. But yeah, as you said, just scores going here and there. Tukums were even in the lead 2-0 at some point, which was just crazy to me. They opened the scoring
2-0 and 3-2 later.
They opened the scoring quite early, 11th minute. Very nice goal by Sidoros. Somehow managed to get a penalty, a very random one, but still, in the 30th, 2-0. And it seemed that I was just looking at it and I couldn't really watch the whole game properly. I think I was driving at the point, so I was just mostly hearing what the commentators are saying, and just weird that it's 2-0. And it's not like Valmiera were playing bad, but it was just not coming together for them. Then they managed the own goal after some nice individual play from Varslavans. And then the second half was just madness all over the place. A yellow card for Tukums coach, dishless, another own goal, penalty again, just some, I don't know, very random game.
Red card for Tukums as well,
Red card for Sidoros, yeah, true, exactly. Yeah.
So they really were all in for this one. Like literally scoring goals in every direction, getting cards, stirring up drama in a good way, and just making life very confusing for Valmiera.
Yeah, Jibril Gay, Valmiera striker, was very up for winning this game. He just seemed to do. He did manage to get 2 goals, almost 3. The last one was in the end an own goal, but he was just very active, sometimes even more active than he should be, trying to do more than he should on his own. But still, definitely the hero of Valmiera for this game.
For sure.
And
the savior, even beyond the hero, just a straight up savior.
Yeah, can't say that Valmiera looked like bad. There were probably some, well, not dodgy choices, but maybe choices that didn't work well, but they were choices out of necessity. For example, the center back pairing, Nick Sled and Robert Swapes. Well, when I hear that, I can't believe it's a championship winning side having these 2 center backs. Then Balovadis came on in the second half. I think he sort of calmed the game down, and they were back to their normal standards after he came on. And in the end, somehow they managed to get this win. And it was just through a lot of character. Tukum still could have even made it 4-4, I think, at some point. I would have been crazy. And of course, they probably feel sad that they didn't get more out of this game, but ultimately, Valmiera showed character, got the win, and moved on.
Well, if they hadn't scored 2 in their own goal, they would have won the game. It's simple as that.
Yeah.
Obviously, Valmiera dominated possession, but there's not really all that much to set the teams apart statistically in other respects. Similar amount of shots on target. Again, 2 own goals for Tukums. They weren't silly ones, they were very much provoked by Valmiera, but still maybe a team with a bit higher quality wouldn't have made these mistakes. First own goal was following a strong cross from Varslavans. It just kind of hit the defender in the thigh or something, and that slowly rolled into the goal. And second one was an unfortunate header, which, again, maybe someone a little bit more experienced wouldn't have made these mistakes. But, it is what it is. Exciting game. Valmiera scraped 3 points together and traveled to Daugavpils. And that is where things got really interesting. Yeah,
1-1. Valmiera against Daugavpils. Again, I think it was a deserved result in the end. But yeah, I guess it was kind of a good game. Again, unfortunately, didn't manage to see it from start to finish. But saw most of it. And Daugavpils looking better and better. They were already good against Metta. Unfortunate to lose the game, but against Valmiera, knowing that Valmiera just got a confident win against Auda, then scraped the victory against Tukums, and also looking that they're improving. Well, maybe not really always improving, but still looking like a team that should be in the top 3. And then Daugavpils just showed that they also have something about them. I think it was their first. Was it their first home? No, second home game. But I think there was quite of a crowd. There was this how do you call it? carnival sort of thing.
There's a circus. Yeah, there was a carnival traveling circus. There was a big Ferris wheel right in the background of the TV camera. It actually
I thought it
brilliant.
Looked amazing.
I enjoyed it.
Really fun.
There was one guy who posted a picture on Twitter of him being on top of the Ferris wheel, taking a selfie with the football pitch with the game ongoing in the background. Nice. It was amazing.
And Daugavpils even got the lead in the second half. It's the 61st minute with Ivanov scoring for the second game in a row. And I don't think he's a player that scores that often, so good for him.
It was a beautiful long shot. Yeah, so not some dodgy goal either. A beautiful long shot.
And it seemed that, honestly, I thought that they might win the game. Valmiera looked, again, not bad, but just wasn't clicking. Something wasn't going as it should be. And 9 minutes later, though, they managed to score through an own goal, but after some brilliant individual efforts from Jelisko, who I think so far is definitely their best player this season. I think he's outgrown Virsliga level at his age, 20. I think he's 21.
Yeah, he's a Ukrainian U21 international.
Yeah, and so managed to get the point. In the end, I think both teams also had some chances to maybe win the game. But it was a very tough game, and both teams looked equally good. So that's why I think it's a fair result. But of course, more happy about Daugavpils because they started really badly, but they've only improved, and here they are, drawing against Valmiera, and probably unlucky not to get the win.
Well, again, if you don't score in your own goal, then life is easier because Valmiera didn't score in this game. Daugavpils scored both goals, so Valmiera got help again.
Valmiera, they're relying too much on the other team.
Yeah, exactly. Statistically, other than possession, not much to set the teams apart. Similar amount of shots on target. Daugavpils more shots on target. Own goal on 70th minute. Very unfortunate. Could have been a spectacular win. And another controversial press conference from Valmiera coach. Remember, as I said, whenever Valmiera loses, the tipsy uncle Jurgis Kalns comes out and starts just talking. No filter, no purpose.
Not only when they lose, but in this case when they draw as well.
I feel like this draw is pretty much equivalent to a loss for them. It kind of feels that way.
Considering what he said a couple of weeks ago, I think we also spoke about it. He was comparing Liepaja. Even after Liepaja won, they said that they were looking so bad as if they were a team from Daugavpils. That was the quote.
Tukums.
Yes, and now he was playing against Daugavpils and Tukums and barely winning or not winning. And the press conference first half was mostly just him speaking about the ref and the amount of mistakes he made and the lack of quality in the refs, and that he said that if there's like 8 or 10 good refs, then just only make them referee the games. I don't mind if I see like the same ref over and over again, something along those lines. Just complaining a lot about refereeing. And then the second half was more about the team, some internal struggles, which is a mystery. No one knows what he's talking about.
No. He literally said, we have difficulties, but I can't tell you what they are. Next topic. It's like, all right, why did you say that? And the reporter, even who was asking questions, he was like, well, do you think that Daugavpils, who are in a notoriously difficult situation that is imposed on them by the city, in our opening episode, we talked that they might even have to play in a different city nearby, which didn't end up being the case. But I mean, the sort of internal challenges, that's a Daugavpils thing. And the reporter asked him, well, do you think Daugavpils doesn't have any issues? And he was like, well, I'm not talking about Daugavpils, but I still can't tell you what it is. So, but just keep in mind that we show great character in spite of those things that I can't disclose. So it was a bizarre thing to hear.
But I have to say it is a bit frustrating, but interesting, because now I really want to know. He lets us off on a great cliffhanger, and I'm curious about the internal struggles of Valmiera, because it's not that I don't believe him. I'm just wondering what those are. And that's it. But he won't say. And then, of course, the last thing he said was that what he said to his players was that he was surprised about how slow the pace of the game is this season and how bad the teams are looking. And he said that they can win the championship this season even earlier than last season, which is, well, a bold shout considering their place in the table and the results thus far. But then again, this is what I love about Jurgis Kalns, because he says these things and it's always controversial and people are onto him, but it makes it interesting. At least there's some character in Virsliga. There's something to talk about, and to be fair, he has so far been proving people wrong. And let's see how long he can keep that up. But yeah, at least he sparks some debates. Some people think it's wrong for him to say these things. I don't think it's wrong. It's just you can say whatever you want, pretty much. Well, not whatever, but along some lines. And he does that. And well, I think it's brilliant. I think it adds character. And it's always fun to listen as well. Because there's other coaches like who says nothing in the press conferences. I think Moros is very rarely.
Well, Daugavpils assistant coach says nothing.
Yeah, he gets his assistant to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Moros, he sometimes opens up. He's not. But look, the thing with Moros, though, is he's basically, and it's a bit of a segue here, but why I really, really respect Moros and I'm kind of a little bit conflicted about, being quick to call for his replacement is when I started kind of re-following Virsliga, and I kind of explained a little bit my journey in our opening episode. I think Moros, who is a former Latvian international and by extension Latvian citizen, born very much during the occupation years, I think he was still kind of giving press conferences in Russian, and then very quickly, well, I can't take credit, but since I started following, he started doing that in Latvian. For sure, influence of Verpakovskis and kind of the general zeitgeist. And you can see that it's difficult for him to articulate himself, and yet he has been trying without fail every single press conference, including the European ones, to give in Latvian. You can see that he's hamstrung by, in terms of what he can express and how much, but he is doing what is the right thing to do, both in terms of the current situation, both in terms of historical justice and in terms of, football in Latvia as Latvian football. So Morris, yeah, he is not the most outspoken, but there's a reason for that. I think Daugavpils coach is just basically saying the same thing. Well, not coach, assistant coach. We are yet to hear from the coach. And I mean, who else? Well, it doesn't matter who's not saying. I feel it counts as though making a straw man out of who is saying, because yeah, he gives these controversial, entertaining rants, which I don't find entertaining. Some people do, you do. That's fine. But that's not the only way to do it. Like, look at Stipic. He gives very emotional press conferences where he is very open about certain players, like what he did how he explained benching Soisalo, who was the key player for Riga for the longest time, is just coming out and saying that, well, he's not good enough. He loses the ball too much. Then the Metta coach, Richards, also notoriously controversial in how direct and outspoken he is about things to do with Virsliga and football in general. There's Pertea, who, is also kind of ranty. Actually, now thinking that these two worked together for a while, maybe there's a bit of an influence there. So I don't disagree with you in the sense that, yeah, of course he can go out and say whatever he wants, but I mean, it seems that he's patting himself on the back a bit too much and making it a virtue to just go and rant for 15 minutes in front of camera. And I don't see it as being one or the other kind of a situation. And I don't think that his approach is most conducive. Maybe for entertainment value, personally don't find it entertaining. But, I mean, as you said, he also is annoyingly consistent at proving others wrong. So there is that as well.
But that's fair enough, and at least something to talk about, and then we'll see how it goes. I do agree that his opinions are always with a sort of this layer of pettiness, which I guess makes him more annoying and less enjoyable. So I get what you're coming from, but if I don't really speak out of my emotions that I feel when listening to him, if I was just a random guy from outside looking into the league and seeing, oh, interesting coach, then it's when it gets more interesting, I guess. But I guess we move to the last team and the last two games that we haven't talked about, and it's Jelgava, everyone's favorite underdog Jelgava, played against Supernova and Liepaja. Got 3 points out of the 2 games, and first one against Supernova, 2-0 victory. And I can't lie, I was buzzing after the game. I was so happy that they won, because to be fair, it was kind of a similar game. They were better than Supernova, but Supernova didn't look as bad as they did in the game against Metta that we already talked about. And have to of course point out the fact that Jelgava have already used 3 goalkeepers. Had already used in the fourth game, 3 goalkeepers already. This time, the more experienced Edgars Andreev stepped into a goal, 30 years old, I think, and that's an interesting one just because he's not like a regular goalkeeper in Virsliga or even like the first league. I don't think he's been playing really that much for the past couple of years. I guess he's been playing in Jelgava, but he's not like a known goalkeeper in Latvia. And he just stepped in the sticks, managed to keep a clean sheet, managed to save a very good Oleg Slajzan's free kick that should have probably gone in, but amazing save from him. And Jelgava just doing their thing, keeping the ball, playing some nice stuff, and eventually got the 2 goals. Of course, with a bit of luck in the first one, a nice pass from, I think it was Veikriegers, was it? Or Cesnex, one of them. Okay, I can't remember, but nice finish from Rubens. Bit of a lucky one because the keeper saved it and it slowly rolled into the net, very slowly. And other known goal from Rashchevskis.
It wasn't comfortable, but it seemed reasonably confident, I think. Just a nice home game for Jelgava where they played their football. They didn't, they don't get scared. They play the ball. They move the ball. They produce shots. In fact, 18 shots in this game, 6 of which on target. They had a bit more possession. It was a bit more accurate than in other games, which probably speaks to the quality of the Supernova side that we're witnessing at the moment. But I mean, still, it's something that Jelgava did do. And I agree. It was great to see them win. Again, this was their second win. And it was this is the game after which the Supernova coach called them a team of rejects. So maybe it's not that surprising that the first game, which is a bit asynchronous that we discussed, was even worse than this one. So maybe there is some correlation between these comments and team performance, hence my conspiracy theory. But that's not the point. The point is that Jelgava are looking good, doing great, and their next game was almost a shocker.
Yeah, that's the most frustrating one for me, definitely. Yeah. So they lost 3-2 against Liepaja, despite being 2-0 up in the first half. After some, I guess at that point they were playing good football. Liepaja had the majority of the ball, of course, but when they got the ball, they also had some smooth transitions, and they managed to score 2 nice goals. Okay, the first one was a bit of a comical one, one less of a mistake, one a huge mistake from Liepaja defenders, and then Mart Spelan scored the 1-on-1, and then later on Glaudans, who scored the other goal, very nice goal.
Yeah,
a very nice goal in the far corner from a narrow angle. Surprised that he even scored that. But then they sort of went too deep in defense and stopped to believe in themselves, or what happened. Yeah, they went too deep in defense, which of course could win you a game when you're leading 2-0, but then up stepped no one other than Mankenda, the best dribbler in the league, I think we can confidently say. Well, maybe Emerson is also up there, but the way he's not really a fast dribbler, he's just quick with his feet, and he literally got 3 assists after his own individual amazing dribbles, and Liepaja managed to scrape out a 3-2 victory. Very disappointing because I thought Jelgava had this, and they could have had this, but yeah, ultimately Liepaja started to play a bit better because they actually controlled the ball and had some attacks, but ultimately they still won just because of Mankenda. And yeah, and also last minute, Jelgava had an amazing chance to make it 3-3, which would have been so deserved, and I would have been so happy, but wasn't to be. I think Lazarev's against saving Liepaja out of a complete embarrassment, and managed to get a win. But overall, all I can say is just disappointing because Jelgava could have had this. Ultimately, Liepaja did look better than up to this point of the season, but just frustrating because so close.
Yeah, I mean, they, as you said, after 2-0, they kind of stopped playing in that sense. And I don't know if that's on their side or they just poked the Liepaja Dragon enough to really piss, well, not them, but certainly Mankenda off. And after that, Liepaja basically besieged Jelgava, and they, Mankenda and co. Managed to get those 3 goals in, and I don't know if this will be a turning point for Liepaja in some way, because they did look good after this 2-0. They were moving the ball, they were being diverse in their attacks. They were passing fine again. Like 80% of that is on Mankenda, who is like a superhuman, just dragging the whole team behind him to victory. Even though he himself didn't score, so Isa scored 2 and Anand scored another one. But I mean, literally, it was just Mankenda bringing the ball to them and them doing the final bit, which is important, obviously. But point there being that Mankenda was just superhuman at this point. And Jelgava, I don't know, maybe Liepaja roared a bit too loud, and they kind of tucked their tail a little bit.
Maybe this is where the experience comes in, because it wasn't also like Mankenda did something incredible. It was amazing how he got through, but at least 2 of these 3 goals, like, it wasn't like a smooth passage of running through everyone. I think it was the second goal. He did get tackled already, and the ball just sort of luckily flew to him, and then he got a lucky touch to get past another defender. And that's sort of maybe where the experience comes in, because more experienced players probably wouldn't have let him through so easily. It was avoidable. It was very avoidable. I think it makes sense that they started playing so deep, because 2-0 up against, well, objectively probably a better team. It's hard to just keep moving and scoring the goals because it's not that easy. But just I don't know what happened and why they couldn't take the ball off Mankenda. And unfortunate, very unfortunate. And I hope they learn from this. Of course, they will learn from this. That's how you will get the experience. But they just could have gone just this tiny bit better, and they would get some points away from this game. But what I also like about Jelgava is, just to quickly mention, is that they are rotating the squad quite a lot. I don't think they've had the same squad for any of the games yet, and you rarely see any actual change in the play, and that's very nice to see, that even their subs are so good that they can just come into the team and not really make it look worse, and that's very applaudable, and that's what I like about Jelgava. That's where they come in. And I actually had a discussion with a friend when watching, I think it was Metta game, so a bit irrelevant to Jelgava, but the thing about Jelgava is that they don't really have any like standout players, any individually so amazing players. They're just a very good team, and they rarely get picked for the Latvian youth national teams. But if you would just put Jelgava's youngsters in, let's say, under 21s, I don't think they would do like any worse than the current under 21s team. It's just that you don't really do that. You don't just take one team, and that's a bit unfortunate on these players because they are all very good, and as a team they're amazing, and even their subs and their further subs, and that's what's exciting about Jelgava, and it's very nice to see. And I hope they learn from these tiny but so painful losses, and I hope they do better in the future because it's a very exciting team to watch, and I think they deserve it.
Well, I know at least one Jelgava player who will disagree with your assessment about them not having any standout players.
Interesting.
And that's the emergent social media, quote unquote superstar, Rudolf Zendis, who's becoming a self-promotional machine and trying to get himself transferred into Southampton on virtue of Twitter and TikTok.
That was a weird one. I saw it.
Yeah, but I would actually say that maybe Ruben is one player who is outstanding for Jelgava. But overall, yeah, that's not to distract from the point. I agree completely. That's what makes them so sympathetic. They are a team. They're a team of youngsters who maybe on their own wouldn't be able to shine as brightly in anywhere else, or somewhere else, I suppose. But together they're greater than the sum of its parts, and they're doing some very exciting things as a team. And that's what makes them. Yeah, it's exciting to see Mankenda dribble past 4 or 5 players, but I feel like it's more authentic to football, and I keep coming back to this phrase, to see a team pull together to achieve something bigger than what they are by themselves. And we've seen this in history, the Galacticos era of Real Madrid, where you have 11 superstar players but very poor team play, versus something like Jelgava that is just a good team, right? It's more
Galacticos and Jelgava. It's incomparable.
Yeah, there we go, Zandis. Take that comparison into your negotiations. You can have this one. But I mean, at the end of the day, statistics also paint a picture that is, what we saw on the pitch. Liepaja dominated possession, 67% against 33%. They produced way more shots. They produced somewhat more shots on target, but I think the most telling statistic is pass accuracy. 81% for Liepaja versus 56% for Jelgava. And this 56% very much tells me that they got spooked by Liepaja. That the passing went out the window, and with that, obviously, you can't have team play.
Yeah, probably just a lot of booting it up the field. And another thing I thought about Jelgava is that, before the season, when there were some interviews with their coach Park once, they were asked that because up to Virsliga, in the leagues below, they've always played a very attacking football, and because they were the better team, so they can afford to do that. But in Virsliga, some people said it might be a problem because they're so used to attacking football that they can get lacking in defense and sort of concede a lot of counterattacks, etc. And he said that yes, in the friendly games it has become apparent, so you'll have to think about that. And I just wonder if it's not the case that now he recognizes this problem, but now when they do sort of go to defend more, they go too deep as they did against Liepaja, and that's maybe why they lost, because as we saw, they are capable in tech as well. So I just hope they find this sort of middle ground, this balance between the both, where they can sort of pull these games where they're leading so comfortably 2-0 to a comfortable win in the end as well. So hope they do that.
I'm sure they will.
But it will take some time.
Well, time is what they have. Still 31 games in Virsliga left. So we'll see where we are in November. And that's all the games. That's the games. It's longer than what we usually do. Again, we're reviewing both rounds at the same time. We'll see if we do it this way going forward or not. But but this is what happened, and it was, as always, both exciting and disappointing and inspirational and great to watch. And I think I fell asleep during one game, but that's because I just was so tired. So the Virsliga this season, I think, is great. I don't know what Kalns is on about. This year, thus far, is my favorite season ever. It's great. I love it. But because we're reviewing 2 rounds, we have a bit of a predicament. Usually we award the goal of the round to one spectacular individual, which we will not do this time. We will up the ante and we will award the best goal of 2 rounds. Ooh, it's a lot more prestigious. This is something to take note of. My candidates are Sidorovs of Tukums for his amazing long-range effort versus Valmiera, Kurtsev, a Ukrainian meta player, for his long-range effort versus Daugavpils. In the same game, Diomande seemed really interesting to me. He dribbled past a bunch of meta defenders and kind of almost counterintuitively slotted the ball into the near corner. Maresh for RFS versus Liepaja for his very tight corner, powerful finish following a beautiful pass by Zjuzins, which is like this lobbed pass over the Liepaja defense, just beautiful stuff. And Ivanovs of Daugavpils for his long-range effort versus Valmiera.
I don't understand how you shorten it to this list and not include Melnis in it. Which
I'll tell you why. I didn't include Melnis.
Because Supernova?
No, because the Supernova goalkeeper just kind of decided not to bother with it halfway through the flight of the ball.
I see. I guess he was a bit too far out and didn't really reach for it.
He sort of started jumping for it and then he just like threw his arms up and was like, whatever. And I thought that, well, I mean, great shot, but if the goalkeeper is not even trying, then can you really have it as an amazing goal? I suppose you can, but it's something a little bit wrong there to me. So Supernova ruined this nomination for me.
I would also put in the mix Glaudans against Liepaja, which was just as neat of a finish as you can get. And also Korea against Supernova. It was a good goal, so sort of let the ball roll past him or through his legs, a nice through ball and then a nice finish. But I guess realistically it is between Sidorovs and Kurtsev. Kurtsev I saw live. I did not expect that from him because to me he's up until that point in the game he seemed just asleep. But I guess that's just how he looks.
He does look sleepy,
Yeah, but just out of nowhere, cutting in, right shot, very powerful. But the Sidorovs was more of a nice placement. And I think because I wouldn't expect that from him. And then against such a team, I would go with Sidorovs, in my opinion, because just it was more of a short movement, a bit of a harder shot, I think. And just top corner. While Kurtsev, he did cut in, but he had some time to think and shoot, and nothing to take away from him. But in my opinion, it should go to Sidorovs. So let's hear what you think.
Well, it's a bit tricky because I think the Kurtsev goal, I mean, obviously you saw it from kind of closer to where he actually was because, he was with his back to the stands upon shooting the ball. Whereas, looking from the camera, it kind of looks a little bit sharper. There's a perspective difference there. So it looked like a much more penetrating, dangerous, whipped, kind of a long-range shot from the TV. Sidorovs, I agree. Beautiful, unexpected, strong, very precise effort. So in that sense, they're sort of equal to me. So then what's the next factor in deciding what's the goal? And previously we awarded one goal on the basis of significance, in which case I think Kurtsev takes the lead because this is, his goal was part of this historic game where Metta interrupted this losing streak of 43 months to Daugavpils, and that's hugely significant. Obviously, scoring first goal Tukums versus Valmiera 1-0 up is a big deal. They did lose ultimately, and I mean, also seems to be no Matrevic thus far, and he's conceding way more goals.
Oh, Matrovic is not saving that. But I see your
I
point.
don't know. He's a bigger guy. Maybe he would get some fingertips on that. It's hard to tell, but
okay. Well,
but I would go with Kurtsev ultimately.
Significance is a good point, although he only scored the second goal. But now I just looked at it. I didn't see his goal actually from the cameras, only live, and I looked at it, and it does look good from the cameras. It looks more of a top corner than it seemed live. So I guess I can agree, and let's go for Kurtsev, the Ukrainian, for Metta, with in my opinion, unlikely effort, but well, it went in, and congrats, Kurtsev. Very nice goal.
Congratulations. Yeah, goal of 2 rounds, nonetheless. All right, and so next games that we have to look forward to take place over April 14th to 16th, which are going to be Liepaja hosting Auda, RFS hosting Tukums, where we'll have like a mini gathering, it seems, with some of the international football podcasters interested in the Baltics football, we'll see how that goes. Daugavpils hosting Riga, Jelgava hosting Metta, and finally closing the round with what is probably going to be a bloodbath with Supernova hosting champions Valmiera, who, well, really should have everything to prove by this point, despite what the coach seems to say.
Okay, so quick predictions, as this is already a bit of a long one. No discussion, just numbers. Liepaja Auda, for me, 2-1 Liepaja.
I'm going to go 1-0 Auda.
Nice. RFS Tukums, I'll go with a 3-0 RFS.
Ooh, I'm going to agree.
Riga Daugavpils in Daugavpils. Ooh. 2-0 Riga.
Ooh, yeah, this is a tricky one. You want to believe in Daugavpils, but Riga is a formidable club. So, I'm gonna go with 1-1.
Okay, interesting.
And not excluding the possibility of an own goal at some point.
For me, the most exciting game, Jelgava Metta, which will really indicate who is the team of the bottom. And I'm gonna back my boys, quotations, and go with the 2-1 Jelgava.
I'll go with 3-1 Metta.
I do have a feeling that they will win, but I have to back Jelgava. And Supernova.
I mean, you don't.
I really do. And Supernova Valmiera. I think Valmiera comes back, and Supernova should also, but they won't. Believe in your conspiracy, I guess. 4-0 Valmiera. 4-0 Valmiera.
I'm in the same mindset. I'm just gonna up the number a little bit, so I'll go maybe 5-0 Valmiera.
And Jaunsams to score, finally.
Yeah, and so that's that. These are the happenings in Virsliga as of round 5. Round 6 and 7 coming fast at us, and we'll be here to, get overwhelmed or underwhelmed, and in either case, enjoy the football that we have in front of us. We'll keep you posted. Thanks for tuning in. Do follow us on Twitter at LVFootball_show. And we're just very grateful for as many people as are already listening to the podcast. So share with your friends, share with your colleagues, anyone who is just sick of Champions League and Premier League and La Liga football all the time and wants to see what the rest of the world looks like. And again, the youngest pro league in Europe. Definitely, it should deserve your time to keep an eye on it.
With an even cockier coach than Jose Mourinho, for example.